All right, so it's been a while since I recorded anything. Join or Die is a podcast, it's about news, politics, history, I don't know, whatever is on the mind at that time. I generally present a wide array of interests in various topics, and that's what I'm here to talk about. So we talk about history today, talk about the state of the world when it comes to politics and things of that nature. So thanks for checking out this podcast. And am I going to get back to my regular, schedule, posting several times a week? I don't know, anytime soon. I've been busy the last 3 months writing a book. It'll be done and it'll be out soon. I do have a cold. Sorry if you can hear that. I wrote a fiction. It's kind of like I don't know. It's kind of like a historical novel type deal, military stuff. It'll be out hopefully within the next couple weeks here. I'm self-publishing it because I'm a historian and I need money to complete my history research on Civil War medicine. So I wrote another book to help fund it. So please, if you are interested in that, I will put it up when it's out and you can check it out, because and it's not going to be very expensive. If you could help me out, just buy the book, give me a good review, and help me fund my research that way. I figure get proactive when it comes to funding things. Now, I've been burned out on things since the end of the year. Got really old after the election. I had a hard time caring about news after the election because, by the new year, by the time Trump became president finally, I just I just couldn't bring myself to pay attention that much anymore, because everything was always the same. Doesn't matter what you're doing. If you are a conservative, if you're a liberal, whatever Trump does is bad. Whatever the conservatives want is bad. If you're a conservative, whatever the liberals want is bad. It's more like the conservatives spend all their time defending themselves, while the liberals just attack conservatives, and there's no in between. And it's like, is this just going to go on until the end of time? And I feel like that's what burned me out. And so I was like, I don't know if I can just sit here and just do this contrarian thing forever. So I wanted to kind of just give you something different than just me presenting the news, right? I think I wanted to give you my I'm going to editorialize a bit. I think that's kind of what I want to aim to do with this. I don't necessarily just want to present news stories and things like that. I would like to talk about all types of things. I like history and politics and news. This is Wit, by the way, and he will be bugging us the entire time. He always loves it when we record. He wants to be the center of attention, and his head is all sticky, and I don't know why. It's disgusting. But so I like history, politics, philosophy, art, music, whatever. And I consume the news. I am very active on social media. Like, I know what's going on X and whatever stupid stuff people talk about on Facebook and other things across the board. So I'm pretty in tune with that. But lately I have kind of veered more away from just focusing on the world today, news, politics, and things of that nature. And I've just been really delving more into my history stuff and writing my fiction. And honestly, it's such a liberating thing to have new interests again. Yeah, I always had those interests. Obviously, I have a PhD in history, but to feel interested in other things again that are not just based on politics and hating each other. And I kind of think that's part of what has burned me out about the world lately, is I feel like people are just kind of boring because we're so obsessed with defending one viewpoint or the other. That's all that matters. And I think that's really kind of degraded any chance at really being creative or productive or innovative in this country anymore, because there's no compromise. It's my way is right, only my way, and nobody's coming together. Every side is just as guilty in that. I'm sure I've been there too. I've been trying to be more open-minded, but that's where I've been kind of getting, I kind of wanted to be. I wanted to be more interested in differing things these days, not just this like microscope we have on politics, zoomed in to the nth degree, because we focus on right now, and it's just not healthy. And so I'm attempting to do something new here and change up my ways a little bit. So after the election, I took a break for a while, focused on writing, and now here I am. And guess what? It's Trump's 100 days. Of course, it's like, oh, I don't want to talk about news and politics when I'm talking about this. Well, I will always talk about news and politics to a degree. I'm just not dedicating my life to it anymore because it's an interest of mine. I'm a historian, so I pay attention to these things, but I'm not going to just spend all day every day on X religiously absorbing news and politics because it's like a cancer in your life after a while. And I want people to feel inspired to be into other things again, be interested in other things. We need this in our lives. We need things that fulfill us. And I think that that's important, So I wasn't really sure how to go about this because with Trump's 100 days in office, of course, the media has done nothing to change their method of approaching the Donald Trump issue. Nothing's changed there. Sorry about the shadow on my face. It's office. It's just awful. I'm moving in the next few months, and hopefully when I get there, I'll get better lighting. So sorry for like the weird two-face looking thing. But the media has done nothing to change their ways. And it's amazing to me because the election, I would have thought the election would have been a great wake-up call to a large body of people who despise they even despise Donald Trump and conservatives. I would think people would learn their lesson and say we need to change our ways and not just espouse pure hatred 24/7. And they didn't change a thing. The media is a dying entity. People don't trust them as it is. They've been so wrong about so many things. If you date it back to the very beginning of Trump's administration, news media and so corporate news outlets and things of that nature have been very, very blatant in their lies, and they just double down on them. And it's like one would think that, think about the level of just absurdity that they had dumped into our culture. The absurd takes, and I go back to the very beginning of Trump's first administration. You have the very fine people thing, which was a lie. Him mocking the disabled reporter, which was a lie. You have Russiagate, which was a lie. You have the insurrection crap, which was they take that and run with that. That you had the oh man, I remember just thinking about this past election. The Atlantic has articles out about how Trump wants Hitler's generals. And then just think about the entire duration of the COVID thing. They were, not only were they weren't wrong about everything, they continued to lie. And then when they got called out in their lies, knowing full well that if they kept on with their narrative, they would just look worse, they continued to espouse it. And then come this point in history, they just continue. They can't help themselves. It's because the only market they have left, they've put themselves in a box, and the only market they have left now are these people that's what they're there for. They want to sit back and read about read about Donald Trump so they can obsess about their hatred of him. And it's like a real weird thing, throughout history, there have certainly been people that have been hated by a collective. I'm sure if you date back into the 20th century, there's been plenty of dictators there who are probably universally despised. But even one might argue then that the majority of people didn't go about their day-to-day lives letting this person ruin them and live in their mind 24/7 and turn them into worse people and obsess and obsess and obsess. And we're there. I mean, like, this is a time, it's because we're living in an internet culture where propaganda is being espoused about somebody that every single time you see a headline about the guy, unless you're seeing it from a conservative news outlet, you're seeing he did bad thing, he did evil thing, he said horrible thing. Every policy he has is stupid. Every decision he makes is vile, and he's just a malevolent, evil human being. And so people live this life where they realize, they believe that this is the world they live in, that there's this evil being in the world that's out to destroy their world or something. These people are so just self-centered. It's amazing. Like, they think the whole world should just adhere to their worldview and nothing else. And I think, like, that's so grossly unhealthy. Like I said, talking back about people being interested in new things. You know, they need hobbies or something. They need to change, find God or something. I don't know. They need something that's going to open them up from their hate, because hate is a poison. It's literally a cancer in your life. There's been plenty of people in my life I've hated. Okay. I will not get into that, but there's been people that were very justly hated. And people that I still struggle to forgive this day. But the more I would obsess about that, the worse it makes my life. It's not healthy for me to just obsess about my hatred of somebody. Because it consumes you. It eats you, and it's an evil thing, you know? And I would have thought that come election time that they would have changed their tune and say, okay, we're gonna start actually covering the news again. We're gonna start being more honest with the American people, and we're gonna start being more truthful. We're gonna try to find facts. You know what we'll do? We'll try to repair our image. We'll try to offer up our penance to the American people, to the world in general, because we've been terrible at what we do. We exist for a reason, and we haven't been doing our job. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe these big corporate news outlets, they gut their organizations, and they find new people. Sorry about the cold. It's just been going on for like a week. It's awful. The whole family has it too. So you have this, this moment where you could have saved face. You could have fired all the terrible people in your organization, the people that have made you look bad, but that didn't happen. And that's why I have this here. So, what wrong tab? Why do I always do this? Let me pull this up. So this is from Axios. I saw this yesterday. I put it up on X. Follow me there. Join or Die News. At one point, I anticipated doing a news type account, and now I just do my own stuff. So it's Join or Die News, but you can find it Dr. J.A. Roberts if you want. I put this up there yesterday, and it's an Axios poll that says most Americans see Trump as dangerous dictator. Poll says. So all Americans, 52%, say that he's a dangerous dictator. Now, Democrats, it's 87%. 56% of independents, 17% Republicans. Of 5,000 people that were surveyed. Now, 67. Wait, how does this work? Let's see. So 67% of blacks that were polled say he is. Latinos. I mean, white is less than 50%. Now, only 4 in 10 Americans expressed favorable views of Trump after his first 100 days in office. So this is a stupid poll, and I wouldn't give much credence to these things because Axios has a bone to pick with the Trump administration. They are very much biased one way. They can pick whoever the hell they want for their polls, or they can conduct their polls any way they see fit. They can ask weird questions. They can word things weird. Regardless, this idea that Donald Trump's being seen as a dangerous dictator by over half the country is just like, it's insanity. The 87% of Democrats that say that, I wholeheartedly believe. They believe that. I mean, they've been on this Trump's a dangerous dictator thing dating back to day one of his first administration. I don't know what they think dictators do. I don't know what they think that constitutes this so-called dictator that they think is out there doing whatever he wants when his powers have been completely curbed by every possible force, really. The only thing that he's ever really had any true control over in this has been the immigration stuff, which has been a fraction of what he said he was going to do. There's been the tariff talks, which haven't actually gone into effect yet. And then he's been trying to end the war between Russia and Ukraine, which has not happened yet. Aside from that, though, I don't know what constitutes a dictator in the eyes of these people that take these polls. It's preposterous. Now, the 100 days thing is up. Trump's his approval rating is lower than it was. But mind you, Trump's entire first term as president, his approval rating always sucked. Every news outlet, well, I'm gonna say most news outlets from any major corporate news outlet, hate his guts, spend all day, every day attacking everything he does. The media is always going to portray it as this guy is the worst person ever, and they're going to continue to try to undermine his administration at every step. And lots of things get more media coverage from the left. You had these massive Doge protests. Well, those got more coverage. Gee, I wonder why. Because they want to portray this image that Trump is so universally hated that Americans are just going out and protesting against people like Trump and Elon Musk. When this is just what leftists do. They protest everything. Unless it's their effing way, they want to go out and protest it. They're like they're children. They have to throw temper tantrums and fits until they get their way. Excuse me. Ugh. And I remember this from prior years. Liberals that I know, they were always out protesting this, that, and the other thing. But if you give that more universal media coverage, then guess what? That's going to come across like Trump's hated. Now, they're basing this off polls, which whatever. If you put much credence in polls, Trump's disfavor is not anything close to what Biden was facing. And it's kind of inevitable at this point that when a huge chunk of the country would never give Donald Trump favorable views on anything he does, why does this surprise anybody? He could run into a burning building and save puppies and babies, and they would mock him and trash him and come up with whatever insults they could. And then they don't understand why the hell they're in this position. Why the hell the guy won. It's because there's a split in this country. There's this elitist, pro-government, pro-statist entity that people are actively rejecting. And they did that in November. So, nothing's changed. Trump's a dangerous dictator, according to Axios. Big shock, okay? It shows the privileged life Americans have lived, if they think that's the case. Because you really don't understand how dictators operate. When most of the corporate news outlets are attacking you and they get away with it, and you have people in the Congress and Senate and all these things constantly fighting against your agenda and everything like that, that's kind of runs contrary to what happens with dictators. Now, my personal take on this is it's mixed. He has done some things against immigration that seem like kind of moving in the direction that he had intended, but seems pretty small time. And what I cared about the most in this election was I'm anti-censorship. I want liberty to the nth degree. So I'm anti-censorship. I'm anti-censorship. I'm anti-government intervention. I'm anti-state. I just don't want any of that crap. If you can shrink it in some way, that's what I care about. What steps have really been taken to curb censorship? Not many, but many of the outlets that would censor people saw the writing on the wall. Facebook, X, things like that. Taking matters into their own hands to fix things. And but from an economic standpoint, I mean, people need to understand economics is not, there's no quick fix when it comes to economics. You can't quick fix an economy. Plenty of presidents and plenty of politicians have tried. Remember Barack Obama's stimulus checks that did nothing. Nixon tried to fix prices. People have tried to fix prices. They've tried to dump money into the economy. They've tried to start new government programs. They've done so many things for a quick fix to the economy. And this is our problem when it comes to economics, which is kind of really what I wanted to focus on with my view of this first 100 days. Because I am one second. So sorry. I'm a millennial. I have never had any money. I have always struggled. I grew up in a world surrounded by adults who had money and seemed to have everything they ever wanted, and they got to retire and have good lives, and I care about the economy because I want my kids to grow up in a world where the economy is great. Now, I'm reasonable. I understand there's no such thing as a quick fix. And all this is what pisses me off more than anything about politics is, whether you're the president, a congressman, a senator, a local whatever, getting reelected is your only goal in life. That's all you care about. These people spend more time campaigning to draw in donor dollars than they do to fix any problems this country has. Because in my opinion, government can't fix anything anyways. That's just not the solution. But if you think that's the solution, they don't spend any time really coming up with solutions. Garnering that donor money is all that matters to these people. In a year and a few months, we're going to have midterms. And after that, we're going to have another election. It'll be here before you know it. It'll be here in a flash. And I cannot stand the horrible, crippling, irreparable damage people do to our economy in the name of winning elections. I can't stand it anymore. We're here because of that reason. We print money like crazy. We screw around with interest rates. We piss money away on government programs. We dump money from our strategic oil preserves. We do everything stupid that we can do as a means to win more elections. And we piss money away on pointless wars and all these things. We don't have any long-term outlooks on anything anymore. Like production. Trump's tariff thing is probably partially driven by the idea that we need investments in production for long-term production in this country. We need better infrastructure. We need better future industrialization and opportunities to produce the things we need here on American soil. But throwing tariffs out there that's not going to solve your problem. Now, several things are going to come into play when it comes to the economy. Doge was supposed to be this thing where, excuse me, where they were going to come in, they were going to cut, they were going to cut, all these wasteful government spending. They're going to slash jobs and gut it. And then they came in and they found that you can't really do anything. There's not much you can do. The blob, this unified organism, a parasite that sucks all the money out of our economy, is not going anywhere anytime soon. It's not going anywhere. You're not going to be able to just slash it and gut it. And it's very discouraging, honestly. The best thing that they could do is just expose the government for all the waste. Give us itemized receipts. We piss money away on this, piss money away on that, which is everything, but that's going to be your best bet. Because you're not going to ever convince people that we should just shut all the waste down, all the wasteful entities in government down and gut and just cut jobs and spending and all this crap. Because apparently that's a huge problem if you're a leftist. You go out and protest about it. The Doge thing, people are just outraged about Doge. They want Elon Musk to fail. They want his car company to fail. They want everything about the guy to fail because of his connection to Doge, which is in the Trump administration, which is he's trying to save the American people money and cut waste because he understands that you cannot just blow money in perpetuity until Christ comes back, and you can just continue down that path and everything will be fine. You can't do that. And people are pissed off that he would dare question our ability to just blow money on everything. And it's dangerous to get rid of bureaucracy, and it's dangerous to get rid of bureaucratic, pointless regulatory agency A, B, and C. It's dangerous. They genuinely want the government to be like this God in their life. And they see it as the only real guiding principle we have anymore. And if you're cutting that, they don't have that anymore, right? Where's our guide going to go? We don't know what to do now without government there to tell us what to do. And in the long run, government should just take care of all of us. And that was part of the whole process initially, was Doge was going to come in and gut all this stuff and save us a bunch of money. Well, that's not going to happen now. At least not for a long time. If it's ever going to be possible. I mean, it is amazing how permanent Washington really is a thing. It's permanent. What are you going to do about it? Even if you cut, a few $1 billion here and there, what's that? It's crazy that's, to me, that's like whatever. But when you look at it in the larger picture of how much money we blow on everything and how much debt we're in, it doesn't really make a difference. And that's sad. It's sad because no matter what, you're never going to get people in office that largely, the majority of which are going to be pro small government. They're going to want to cut things down. Republicans, Democrats, doesn't matter who you have in office, blowing money is part of the game. They need to win elections. They need to keep a majority. They need this. They need that. Money, 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 money. And so I would say on the long-term fixing economy aspect, that's a failure. And I wouldn't put the blame on the Trump administration specifically. He'll blow plenty of his own money. He'll grow a government plenty himself. Sure. But I think that really having an effect on the size of government to significantly slash spending and help us decrease our national debt, never going to happen. Probably once everything completely collapses, maybe then people will realize. But then you're hitting the reset button on that. So that didn't come to fruition. That's a part of fixing the long-term economic issues. Now, Trump's thing is, this is like there's so many mixed things about this whole global trade thing. Because the guy has always railed against the way America gets screwed in trade. And for the most part, they do. There's lots and lots of heinous, shady things that go on. So that way the United States of America pays the price when it comes to trade. Kind of. Because there's also plenty of things we've brought upon ourselves. But so his whole deal is he wants to instill these tariffs so that way really China gets punished the most, but we get screwed throughout the world. We have to pay high tariffs in countries that we don't make them pay. And, we have to, we buy so much crap from everybody in the world, but no, they don't really buy a whole lot of crap from us. These are the kind of the big issues. And the idea being like China, they have cheap labor because they use like slave labor practically. They manipulate their currency. They screw around with their own tariffs. They do all this stuff. So that way, people are not going to want to buy from the United States of America. They're not going to want to buy quality things made there. They're going to want to buy cheap crap. The United States is guilty in that same exact crime. We buy everything because it's cheap. We buy all this crap from China and these other countries because it's cheap. That's just basic economics. And so a lot of this comes down to, sorry about like some of the choppy cuts and stuff. I need to take a drink of water and stuff, and I'm dying at times. I felt really compelled to do this today for some reason, despite my my condition. But we buy all this cheap crap from China and from other parts of the world. So Trump's under the idea we get screwed, and we get screwed globally in lots of other areas, and maybe we do. But there's a big problem if you think that tariffs are just simply the solution to the problem. This could be just a big bargaining chip. We're going to go in, they're going to put pressure on China, they're going to fix some of their practices, things will be fair, right? That's kind of the hope, I'm assuming. Well, Trump's big thing, I know during the election, he was always talking about McKinley and McKinley's tariffs. I have heard, like I heard Glenn Beck talking the other day, that Trump's actually taken more of a keen interest in history, which he didn't do before. So it's somewhat comforting to know that that's the case. Wait, I'm sorry, I gotta get this guy out of here. When he wants to be the center of attention, he sits on my keyboard. So, do you want to go out there? Huh? Wait. Here, you want the blanket? There you go. All right, so, Glenn Beck said he's taking an interest in history. Maybe that's why McKinley, which you would hope the president of the United States would, but McKinley might have been something that he popped upon, because he goes, okay, when did America become an industrial superpower? Oh, it began the turn of the century. Turn of the 19th century. Sorry, turn of the 20th century. But there's a lot of things here that are not even remotely in the same universe when it comes to dealing with the history of this subject. So, remember, before, dating back to the early republic, early American years, our federal government was this tiny little fraction of what it is now. And it was funded solely on via tariffs. So back then, you have a tiny federal government, so you have minimal spending. You have, if you're talking about before the 20th century, virtually no regulation whatsoever on anything. Taxes are very minimal. You don't even have a federal income tax. So low taxes, low to no government spending. All right, do you need to go out? Oh, let me let the cat out. All right, is that what you want? Go ahead. Right, go on. You gonna come in? Pizza, you coming in? All right. It's like musical cats here. Anyway, so you have minimal government spending, minimal taxation, minimal regulation. What are you dealing with by the time McKinley comes into office? Well, America just built a railroad that spans the entire United States of America. America is expanding westward at a rapid rate. We are able to produce many of our own raw materials. We're on the gold standard, right? These things are all, when you're talking about McKinley, you're talking about that. So when McKinley puts these tariffs in place, which there are very mixed views on this as to whether McKinley's tariffs actually really did much of anything to fix anything. But because McKinley's tariffs come into place at a time when America was already growing toward becoming an industrial superpower. Now contrast that with now, and it's an entirely different thing. Our government, we overregulate and hyperregulate everything. It's impossible to do anything anymore, it seems like. If you want to produce something, grow something, if you want to sell something, you have hundreds of thousands, probably, I think it was over 150,000 pages of regulations. You have to abide by those too, or else the government will come and you'll pay the price. So you have all these regulations you have to deal with, which hinder production. They hinder industrial growth. We have to deal with the unions, which really, really hamper productivity. We have to pay a crap load of taxes. And on top of that, we have a federal government that blows money like crazy. And guess what that causes? That causes inflation. Inflation is taxes. So on top of your federal income tax and all the other stupid taxes you pay, you're paying the price with inflation So our dollar's been devalued to a fraction of what it was back then. We have a fiat currency. We're no longer on the gold standard. We can print all we want. And we spend, it's an obscene amount of our GDP percentage-wise compared to what it was back then. I mean, it's not even in the same universe when we're discussing the things. Our federal debt back then was I mean, they probably couldn't even have fathomed that it would ever be over $1 trillion in the future. We accumulate $1 trillion of additional debt to our national debt every freaking 100 days. So, if the tariff things is going to work, you're going to have to drastically deregulate, which is not going to happen. They're not going to let that happen. You're going to have to majorly slash government spending, which is not going to happen. You have to stop printing money, which is not going to happen. You have to, you have to cutting spending. You're going to have to slash government jobs. You're going to have to drop most of the taxes we pay on things. Then maybe you can generate enough revenue from tariff, because that's what tariffs are. They're generating some type of revenue to pay off our debts. But like, in the end, it's just going to cause even more issues when it comes to inflation. As a bargaining chip, this might work. China may eventually go, okay, we need to fix our issues and make it so that way people are willing to instill trust in us again. And maybe we'll make things fair. But I personally just don't think this is a very smart idea, what we're doing. Especially because our economy is already pretty terrible to begin with. Now, I know that we've been told for the last 4 years that Biden has been presiding over a amazing, legendary economy, right? It's just the greatest thing ever. And we just can't see it because we're too stupid. But it's just not, it's just not a good time to be screwing around with things like this, especially with midterms that are coming up, and you're trying to play with fire here, hoping that China is gonna cave. Part of the plan is we're going to play around with tariffs all over the world, and then what I'll do is I'll make it so every other country in the world has a pretty small tariff, right? Just to even the playing field, but we'll keep China super high, so China feels isolated. Maybe China will cave, but I don't know. So we have to deal with that when it comes to the economy. And the point of this is he wants it to be, people are going to start buying things from the United States of America again, because it's going to be fair. People are going to start producing things in the United States because it's not going to be like they're the only ones paying an arm and a leg for production and labor and things like that if things are fair. The issue is, if you're comparing it to when McKinley was president, we don't have this up and coming industrialization period anymore. For 50 years, the United States of America has been one of the world's largest, if not the largest consumer on the planet, drawing in cheap items and garbage and imports from all over the world. That's why we live in a time where, people are just, it's the most luxurious time in human history, and especially if you live in the United States. Homeless people have smartphones. They have access to all the knowledge in the world at their fingertips in an instant, and they don't even have a home. Okay? 1,000 years ago, 300, 200 years ago, having that much knowledge was unthinkable. Even if you were the wealthiest human being to ever walk this earth, or the most powerful, or the most knowledgeable, or connected, or whatever. And we like our cheap crap. And this is an issue now because America's used to this. And since they've gotten used to it, they have moved a lot of production outside of the United States. We no longer really make much of anything here anymore. And that's part of the whole equation that you're playing with here. If this is going to work out, we're not 1900 America. We're not on the brink of some industrial explosion in this country. Before that, we were even rapidly growing from an industrial perspective. We're not anymore. American car manufacturers build their cars outside of the country now. We import everything. So the doomsdayer thing about surrounding the tariffs is probably a bit overplayed. Which big shock there. It's another thing they can demonize Trump on. There have been tariffs used forever. If you've ever done business internationally over the last decade, you can tell, you know that you've had to deal with them. It's nothing new. But, sorry, it's getting hot in here. It's nothing new. But this is just going to be something they can latch onto. And this is the thing with the whole media stuff now. They love nothing more than to be condescending, and they love to chide Trump for things he does because they are the adults. They know better. He's so stupid, and he's so childish, and he's such a brat. And he's like, it's like they're the civil smart ones. And he's an idiot, so therefore they need to constantly just mock the guy and talk down to him and act and they feign this outrage whenever they go on their stupid shows and they're write their articles and stuff, and it's just it's so infuriating. This is the reason why you guys lost. People are tired of this arrogant class warfare type thing. Where you think that you're you're a liberal, you're a leftist. I'm smart. I'm super smart and laid back and awesome. And I love everybody. And Trump, he hates everybody and he's stupid and he's gonna do this and that and blah blah blah. You guys have had many years here of opportunity to fix things, and you've made them worse every time. So think about it, okay? Even after Obama, who was this legendary mythological liberal unicorn, even after that, who won the election when he was done? You would have thought, based off the way they just fawned over this guy and gushed over him, that he would blow, Hillary would have blown Trump out of the water. But no, it's because Obama didn't do that great of a job. He lied about everything that he was going to do. So, they can go ahead and feign this outrage all they want. But in reality, they've sucked. Equally as bad, if not worse, when they've had their opportunities. So, my personal opinion is this 100 days thing, it's a mixed bag. It's early to tell. And if we want long-term solutions to our economic woes, we're going to have to go through the pain of it. You can't avoid economic fallout because you're worried about winning an election. You can't do that. You're going to have to just suck it up. And that terrifies politicians. You know, and very like, let's just say this, it's unlikely this would happen. Let's just say these things go into play and we have a recession and the economy sucks, and then a Democrat will win the presidency and they'll go and turn everything back to crap again like it was. Like, we wouldn't know if maybe in a decade's time, 20 years' time, these things led to the eventual rise of America as an industrial superpower again. But when you're focusing all your decisions around winning more and more elections, it's just not going to happen. And the short-term thinking needs to end, and that's the reason why we are here. And yeah, there's nothing that's going to fix this pain right now. And if China decides to come to an agreement, great. But will that happen? I don't know. So I think that things could get ugly. Things could falter economically, and we could be ruined, or this may work out. I don't know. Maybe the guy's got some like deep-seated ingenious plan. But now I've seen plenty of people on there, on like X and things of this nature, from both sides. People that are irate about tariffs, and now all of a sudden they care about free trade, which is hilarious to me. There was this post going around, let me see if I can find it, where they were talking about let me see here. Here we go. Let me show you this because it's pretty funny. Ah, crap. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So this was a graph, and it says neoliberalism is back. American attitudes toward free trade have rapidly polarized. So look at this. Election is here. Free trade hovers around 20%, and then boom, Trump gets in office and it skyrockets. You know, conservatives, it goes down. And to think that that's anything more than just, you know, running counter to what Trump wants, you're kidding yourself. But then on the other camp, there's there's the MAGA crowd that are just like, tariffs are the greatest thing ever now. They can't fathom how there are Republicans in Congress or the Senate who would dare defy Trump's plan to instill tariffs. And it's like, who are you guys talking about? Oh, Thomas Massie and Rand Paul. It's like, oh yeah, well, gee, I wonder why they would oppose this. Like, you do realize Rand Paul's father is Ron Paul, right? Pretty big free trade guy. So instead of having meltdowns that there are people that oppose this, that does not mean that you need to dismiss these people as parts of your party or your movement because they don't support tariffs, which very well could be disastrous. Because if you just put tariffs in place and don't take care of any of the other outlying factors, they will be disastrous. You're not going to benefit from that. You're not going to benefit from tariffs at all, really. I mean, the government may They're going to pay down our debts a tiny bit. So, no, it'll just cause your prices to go up even more. And in light of that, you know, I think that we need to stop being so hyper-focused on loyalty to party and actually be open-minded and think for ourselves and understand that we don't have to agree on everything. Now, as a libertarian, the idea of free trade is great, but it's not a reality, and nor will it ever be. This is an issue I have a lot of times with libertarian ideas. They're beautiful in nature, and they sound like they would be the perfect world, right? But they're as much a figment of fantasy as some leftist utopia, government-run utopia. In order to have true free trade globally, every country that you deal with would have to just be willing to partake in that, and they're not going to. You know, there aren't a whole lot of, diehard republicanist, democracy-based countries that are going to support free trade and they're not going to be ardent capitalists. I mean, there's going to be lots of countries you're going to have to deal with that are just going to be, they're on a completely different economic footing as you are, and their ideas and their philosophies surrounding it are going to differ. And so this idea of this like beautiful free trade thing, like, it's not going to happen. So things need to be done to make it more even out. But is this the answer? I don't know. So I guess this is my long-winded way of saying things have been a mixed bag. And I think we need to see more. We do need to see somehow these organizations like the DOJ, the FBI, etc. They were supposed to have, these new heads were supposed to come in and clean house. I have seen none of that. We were promised all these things about transparency and cutting the size of government and whatever, but I've already talked about that. But, these things have not come to fruition, and they don't really seem like they're that interested in making it happen. So it's mixed. So, well, I'm hoping that tomorrow, maybe I'll feel better enough to delve into some history stuff I've been researching. My throat's about to fall out of my head. So I'm going to cut this video here, but thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment, etc. I put the link to all my social media in the description down there. And in the meantime, try to go out and find hobbies or interests or something. Don't just make politics your life. All right. Bye.